Welcome back this week to the Beanie and Cardale and Beanie show, whatever you want to call it, brought to you by none other than Raising Cane's.
The one and only.
Absolutely. You want some tailgate food where you don't want to go out and be around a lot of people? Order some Cane's.
Easy.
They deliver. And if they don't deliver, Cardale's going to deliver it for you, as we talked about last week. Raising Cane's are our special sponsor, our special partner. Enjoy it. Love it. My kids demolished it last week, not only after the podcast, but 2 days later they wanted more Canes, man. So
ain't nothing wrong with that. You can never have too much Canes. It's just like you said, getting ready to tailgate. Clearly we can't tailgate like we used to tailgate,
right.
But it would have been a little bit special this week getting ready for the game, but canceled. You got to be kidding me.
Oh, my gosh.
You got to be kidding me.
Craziest thing in the world, man, to look up and see the news. Me and Will were just sitting here, and we just saw the ticker go across ESPN talking about how the game is canceled. First time the game will not have been played since 1917, bro.
Over 100 years.
Craziest thing in the world.
How crazy is that?
And
it's Michigan fault.
Right. And we talked about it a little bit last week, how this was a potential situation. We looked at it from a little bit of a different perspective, from the standpoint of maybe, Jim Harbaugh trying to stick it to the Buckeyes and saying, I'm not going to play this game. But obviously, COVID's crept in there and we can't play the game. What are your thoughts, man? How crazy is this? Would you ever anticipate anything like this?
No, it's brutal, man. And to think about how, we dissect that and the what ifs and what would you do and things like that if you was Harbaugh, and then Herbstreit come out and make the comments that he made and later on kind of apologizing for him. But I totally felt hurt on that. But not to get too much sidetracked on last week, I would have never imagined. I mean, clearly that was a real scenario that can happen.
But like real jokey.
Yeah, exactly. I could never imagine in the best tradition in all of sport, this year will not be played. And like I said, over 100 years, this game has been played consistently. And this will be the first time. I mean, golly, I don't know what. It was already weird not playing the game after Thanksgiving, but not having an opportunity to witness that this year, it sucks.
Who I blame in this situation, man? I blame the Big Ten Conference. And I hate to sit there and play the blame game, but, I mean, I think we got to point the finger at somebody. We got to talk about it. There should have been no reason. Well, check that. I can understand a reason why you pushed the season back. There shouldn't have been a reason why we pushed the season back as far as we did.
Exactly.
You play earlier on just in case you have these miscues and you got the potential to make them up later on in the season.
Yeah, you left no room for error. And what – for one, you're dealing with 100+ guys, 100+ football athletes on a team, let alone the staff, let alone the support staff, let alone everybody these guys got to going to have hand-to-hand contact with throughout the basis through all these schools. We should have had a better protocol and left a little room for error if we got to this point where facing like potentially not being able to be eligible for the Big Ten championship game.
It's just sad, man. I always say, and you guys have heard me talk about it on Lettermen Row and on this show, any show I do, there's too much money at stake. And you can sit there and say it's not all about the money. But when there's so much money at stake and you're looking at it from a business perspective, it's too much money at stake for them not to have answers for every single scenario.
Exactly.
You have to. In a business structure, when you look at Walmart, you better believe Walmart had a plan in place for COVID in terms of how they were going to still keep up with sales and how they were going to still employ people.
I mean,
Amazon, on and so forth.
Yeah, Walmart, if I'm not mistaken, they start delivering or contactless checkout and bringing it out to your door. I mean, bringing it out to your car if you don't want to come in. Like a lot of things like that. Like that's what I think about having all their I's dotted and T's crossed when it comes to a potential situation and kind of foreseeing that and how do we cross that bridge when it happens. And I think, like I said before, when the Big Ten started the season and put some of these protocols in place, when Ohio State canceled when the game was canceled with Maryland, I was like, the Big Ten kind of failed us.
They did, big time. And you talk about the rule that, we have to where you have to play 6 games in order to be considered for the Big Ten championship. And now we're in a situation to where we don't know if we're going to get an opportunity to play that 6th game because of what just transpired, Ohio State-Michigan game being canceled. What do you tell these young men that are clearly the better team in the conference, especially when you look at who they played up until this point and who they had left to play? What do you tell these guys? Oh, you guys can't make it to the Big Ten championship because you didn't get that extra game, and we didn't give you an opportunity to have an extra game.
Yeah, it's tough because Ohio State had every pretty much excuse last week to cancel their game.
Right.
But they wanted to put the players in the best position to compete for the Big Ten championship game, compete have a chance to be the top 4 team and to prolong their careers, and being out with 23 players and your head coach and 3 starting offensive linemen, that can't be easy.
Right.
So to see some of these teams earlier in the season cancel because 8 or 9 players had COVID or tested positive. COVID, it sucks. It is real. It's out there. But I feel like Ohio State this was a gut blow to them. This whole season has been a gut blow to Ohio State.
Man, it just pains me. The NCAA, the Big Ten as a conference, you got too many resources to not have plans in place for when things like this arise. When you know a team is – we had 2 weeks.
Yeah.
We had 2 weeks literally to prepare for this exact situation because you go back last week, we see Ryan Day not be there as a coach, and we see the players and the offensive linemen that we had out. And you look at Michigan and where they were last week and knowing the prior week where they were before that, you understood that this potential was certainly there. So why not get those conversations moving a lot faster in terms of, okay, what's going to be our exit strategy, and then who do we play to replace this game? Because you understand, as a whole, if you look at it from the grand scheme of things, the NCAA in its entirety, the college football playoff in its entirety, the Big Ten Conference needs Ohio State to be in that college football playoff.
Yes, they need a strong representative because the top 4 teams, the top 4 or 5 teams in the country are that. They are head and toe better than everyone else.
Right.
You want to have a strong representation of that top 4 teams. We don't want to see 2 SEC or 2 ACC teams in that thing no more. So because the Pac-12 and the Big 12 pretty much can get ready for next year, it's going to be one conference represent. It's going to be 2 teams represent one conference. We don't want to see 2 teams two different teams from 2 different conferences represent the Final 4.
Right.
So we'll see. It sucks, but I can kind of foresee a potential rematch of Indiana Ohio State with Purdue not practicing this week. Not practicing today.
Yeah, that would be a great situation for us if Ohio State did get an opportunity to go out there and play Indiana. Indiana played us good late. I know they lost their quarterback, but nonetheless, I think that's a solid football team that, it can make it competitive. Ohio State, they will get an extra look at Ohio State and saying, we got a chance to right the ship from some of the things that we didn't do in the first game. And for Ohio State, this will be that another makeup game that give us the best opportunity to be in the Big Ten championship. It's just crazy, man. You look last week, what transpired with BYU, and it was a Coastal Carolina. They threw that game together in less than 60 hours.
Yeah.
So I know we're talking about, the Big Ten Conference, but even if, let's say something happens with Indiana where Indiana, can't play, that's the only other team in the Big Ten that I would believe that would have, an opening for Ohio State to play. Would you or do you think that the Big Ten Conference, the athletic directors all across the board, and the chancellors and presidents will come together and say, you know what, we'd give you guys an opportunity to play a non-conference game? Do you think that would be a scenario?
I think it's realistically possible, and I know those type of conversations right now is happening in the office of Ryan Day, Gene Smith, Mick Marotti, because they are all about not just getting that 6th game, but trying to prove that we are the best team in the country. So if it's going down there to play a A&M, if it's rematching versus Indiana or whoever it may be.
Cincinnati.
If it's a Cincinnati.
Yeah.
If it's a Cincinnati. The guys in Ohio State building are going to be all for it. It's just getting the rest of the conference and it's getting the Big Ten on board and saying, you know what, go do that. You guys have been screwed all season about due to COVID. Here's the opportunity to make things right.
Yeah, and I think, you go back and you look at the rules and all that. The rules haven't been in place for hundreds of years. These rules just came into place a couple of months ago. You can change them. We talked about it last week. You can do things on the fly because this is a unique situation. This is one of those deals that you definitely don't anticipate transpiring at any point in lifetime, but it's here, and now you got to adjust on the fly and make it suitable for your conference, and so they can get their best foot forward. And it's not just about Ohio State. It's about the Big Ten as a whole. What representation do you want for your conference moving forward? Do you want this deal to be looked? I think people already look at the Big Ten as, They got Ohio State and maybe 2 or 3 other teams, and now you're
on a regular basis, on a regular year. Yeah.
So you don't want, as a conference, for everybody to continue to look at you that way. And then, let's say for some crazy circumstance, Ohio State says, you know what, deuces with the Big Ten. And now you fall face flat because of, everything that you've done to not make this conference look to be the best and, be able to compete at one of the best levels. And that's in the college football playoff. Doing everything you can in your power to make sure that you are one of the 4 notable teams. And if you don't do that, I think it's kind of hard to say. Ohio State's been a part of the Big Ten for so long, but I think those conversations are going to be happening, not whether it's with the ADs or whether it's just with people on social media. They're going to be had.
Yes, for sure, and especially this year with the Big Ten. I mean, it's such a down conference with your household power, which are household names, with the team up north, with the Penn State, with the Wisconsin, and somewhat Iowa. But so they're going to need that representation, like we keep mentioning, in the college football playoff to be a strong one, and it needs to be Ohio State.
Yeah, clearly. Man, you just don't want to be a dying conference, man. I know we hit it hard with that, and we're going to continue talking about that because there's so many different scenarios that we could talk about because it's so much unknown. We don't know what the situation is going to be on Saturday, if we'll have a game. There was talk that the Big Ten athletic directors and Big Ten presidents are supposed to get together tomorrow morning to kind of configure some things and figure out, what's going to be the next step for Ohio State and what kind of rules are they going to abide by or not abide by and put in place new rules for, the Big Ten to continue playing games when you got these 2 big cancellations within the conference, man.
Yeah, that's tough, man. It sucks. I cannot imagine if I was a athlete right now at Ohio State and just having so much uncertainty in the weeks that every week leading up to a game, every day leading up to a game, and just so much uncertainty. I mean, they had games canceled the day before a game, so to be already at a bloody Tuesday practice is getting ready, they in there, they taped all the Michigan helmets on the scout team players and the scout team players, they bringing it too because they want to get the guys the best look and they still have opportunities to play in a lot of these games. And you going through that bloody Tuesday practice right now, I don't think they probably hit the field right now yet. And just like, where's your head at? How do you prepare for that?
That's the hardest thing in the world, man. It's already been a harder season in its entirety, knowing that every week that you go out there and play, the potential for that game to be canceled is right there. And then knowing everything that your parents went through and everybody went through to get this season to going after it was canceled initially, it's already been hard. And now we talk about, we're days away from the biggest rivalry in college football, not even college football, but all of sports. And you talk about what it means to your university and how pumped up you get knowing that it's Michigan week. The hell, whatever went on throughout the season, this is Michigan week. This is where legends are made.
Exactly. I know they came out early as a 30-point favor and all that other stuff, and the record's 5-0 versus 2 and whatever Michigan is. All that go out the window. And, clearly, some of the biggest games of your career you had versus a team up north. And I was just talking to a buddy earlier today about, our gold pens and things like that. I was like, yeah, I love my gold pens and I cherish them to death. But the one that I really care about the most is the 2014 one. That's the only time I ever played against Michigan, got into the game. So I hold them near dear to my heart, and I'm like, as soon as you step on that field and you have the opportunity to play, it can be 1 snap, 100 snaps. You just like, it's like, here you go, here you go, and it sucks that, some of these guys won't have that last experience. I mean, a lot of these guys opt back into the season to potentially have an opportunity to play for Big Ten championship, national championship, and it just sucks to see that, things haven't gone our way from a lot of things that we could not control.
Man, it's dwindled, man, drastically from the hopes and dreams that you have at the beginning of the season to now, obviously, with this game being canceled. Just on the flip side of this, though, because I want to get into, obviously, your experience being recruited by both schools and so on and so forth, and, our traditions just with this rivalry game. Yeah. But on the flip side, how in the hell do you think Jim Harbaugh is feeling right now? Do you think it's like, this was like a sigh of relief and a breath of fresh air that he didn't have to go through another loss and get blown out? Or do you think like he's secretly like, man, I wanted to play. I wanted to give it a shot?
I think I think he wanted to play. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, how much the hate and the discomfort I have for that football program. Not even gonna say the university, but that football program
Right.
and everything they stand for. I think deep down he really wanted to play because at the end of the day, it's always a potential to have opportunity to go out here and win this game.
Mm-hmm.
Because if he go out here and beat Ohio State this year and ruin their chances to play for Big Ten championship game or ruin their chances to be the top 4 and play for the national title. Think about how many coaches at Michigan has done that with losing records versus Ohio State, but catch Ohio State when they 11-0 and they know they going to the Rose Bowl right after this game.
Right.
They pretty much packing. They pretty much and the plane had already left for the Rose Bowl. It's like we'd meet y'all there and had an opportunity to spoil the season. I think Harbaugh, even though he hasn't had the success that a lot of people, especially alumni of University of Michigan, anticipated and wanted him to have, knocking off Ohio State potential and ruin their potential chance to play for a national title. I mean, not saying a lot of that wrong will be rewritten, but almost a lot of it be forgiven. So I think he still wants that opportunity to do that, but I mean, it's almost a double-edged sword for him because he's like, okay, well, can't say we lost this year.
Right. That's what I'm of the belief that Cardale, I don't think he wanted to play. I'm dead serious. I do not think he wanted to play this game. I think they were sitting there waiting in the wings for an out to say, you know what, we're not going to play this game. We got issues with COVID. COVID is real, but I think they were looking for out. He doesn't want that other blemish. I mean, that's just another blemish on his record. He already can barely beat Michigan State. Yeah. And obviously we know how it's been with Ohio State. You don't want them problems.
It's tough. It's tough too, man. I'm anxious to see when all the reports come out of how many guys they had test positive for COVID. If it's like 10, 11 guys, man, I'm gonna feel some type of way.
Oh, you got to,
because we just played a game.
If it's 15 guys, I gotta feel a certain type of way.
Exactly. We just played a game, and a lot of this stuff is going to go into the recruiting of players next year as well. It's like, we train our guys to have a next man up mentality.
Right.
Going into a game and rushing for over 300 yards with 3 new offensive linemen is not something you just do.
Right. That was so impressive, bro.
Yeah, it's not something you just do. And I can only imagine being a running back, well, a quarterback as well, being behind center with guys you just got reps with that week. And you just like, uh-oh.
Right.
You probably, if it's your new left tackle or right tackle, you probably drifting a little bit when you drop back out. You're probably like, okay, keeping an eye on this guy, But it's just gonna create more of a gap when it comes to recruiting and preparing and trying to stand a chance up against Ohio State for Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, both Jones, they graded out champions on the offensive line. And I think the biggest miscue was, some of the quarterback center exchanges, a couple of snaps.
Yeah.
But once we got settled into that thing, it was okay.
Yeah.
For them to come out and play the way that they did was super impressive. As a testament to the coaching staff and the environment, like you said, that they have over there, next man up mentality. To me, if I'm the committee and I understand that, okay, let's say Ohio State doesn't have another game. Let's say they play in the Big Ten championship, they win it. I think you got to go back to that week to where they played Michigan State, and you watched everything that they faced the week prior to, coach being out, players not being able to play, but not only players not being able to play, key players not being able to play on the offensive line, and you got a quarterback that's been getting beat up all year long. These 3 guys come in great out of champions, play great, and the quarterback go and has the success that he has. I think you got to take that in consideration. So that's one of the caveats that I can look at with Ohio State and say, you know what, you got that in your back pocket to where you did look very good with all the miscues.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you look at the teams that's been winning, the championship over the last couple of years, despite maybe Alabama, Clemson the first year they won it. They deal with a lot of adversity. A lot of miscues, a lot of changing around, and if it's an offensive line combination, or if it's a key player being now, a key starter being now, or off the field issues, they deal with stuff like that, and the great teams find a way to kind of get through that and have that mentality, next man up. I mean, clearly, it's such a cliche when I had the opportunity to play, it was next man up, things like that. But we dealt with so much stuff going into that season with losing Braxton, with the death of a teammate, with injuries and things like that just kept hitting us gut shots every other week. But we were surrounded by unbelievable players and unbelievable staff that kind of kept everybody homed in and eye on a bigger prize.
Yeah. I mean, this program is elite To say the least. Man. Right.
To say the least.
It's an elite program, and to be able to have the caliber guys that we have and get them on a consistent basis, but not only just get the 4 and the 5-star cats, get them here, get them to buy in, and get them to go out and produce at a high level. Dude, that's hard. Yeah. That's hard as hell to do. It's not an easy walk in the park to be able to get these guys to buy in and be as good as they are. And then some of these 4 and 5-star guys come and sit on the bench for a little bit, and then get their opportunity and still, want to compete. But moving forward, man, I want to get into your situation where you was recruited. Obviously, you went to Cleveland Glenville. Was there any, inkling or anything in you that considered the University of Michigan?
I'm going to be honest, man. It's going to pretty much be the first time I ever mentioned this on camera.
Got some tea.
Right. Got some Cane sweet tea right here.
Exactly.
You know what? Growing up when I was young and dumb, the team up north was my favorite school.
Ooh.
It was my favorite school growing up. And I'm going to attest to that. Listen, and I'm talking about young. I'm talking about before high school. I'm talking about right in the midst of middle school, understanding you can't like that team and living in Cleveland. But my guy was Braylon Networks, Mike Hart, Jake Long, golly, I forgot the quarterback name, but the other great players that they had. And we had a guy actually from Cleveland Glenville that go up there and had some success on the field, a guy named Pierre Woods and stuff like that. So I think it was a little bit of that because Pierre was actually a close friend of the family at the time as well. And I wore 99 just like him in Little League. So I was like, yeah, you're going up there, and my favorite color is blue, so I love him. But I think right when I started to realize what Ohio State and Michigan was about and understood a little bit of the history. You don't really get deep into the history, to the real history, until you finally get into one of these programs. I don't know how they run it up there. Right. I don't know how important it is to them up there, but it's extremely clear, extremely important here. But it was different being recruited by both university at the time. I mean, Coach Trussell was a coach who originally recruited me, and I loved everything he stood for, everything he stands for now to this day. And he had an unbelievable staff around him. And then I think the guy who was recruiting me up at Michigan at the time was Rich Rodriguez.
Rich
Rodriguez. And I personally think, when you start to understand the dislike between the programs and the history and stuff like that going through recruiting, you still look at a school for the best fit and opportunity for you on and off the field. And Michigan had an unbelievable program that I was interested in, but the fit on the field wasn't me.
Right.
Rich Rod was running spread, running your quarterback to death all around the place, and freaking Denard Robinson was the quickest thing I could ever seen in person. I was just like, I don't know if I can have success here. I feel like I can play, but I don't know if I can have success because it was so much predicated on the quarterback ability to get outside the pocket and I mean, he was running Denard Robinson 15, 20 times a game. And that's what drew kind of me more to pro-style offenses. It definitely Coach Trussell. And then I had some former teammates here at Ohio State. So it made that transition so much easier. Ironically, I finally get a chance to come here, and we run in kind of the same style offense. So I was like, but wouldn't change my decision clearly for the world. And I couldn't, me personally, looking back of my experience at Ohio State, clearly wouldn't trade it for the world, but definitely can't fucking see myself playing for Michigan. And golly, sorry for the F-bomb, but golly.
Got to put the extra emphasis on that.
I cannot see myself playing up there.
Dude, Rich Rod recruited you, man. Rich Rod single-handedly set that program back. That's why Michigan is the way that they are right now. It's because of Rich Rodriguez. I mean, he went in, changed the culture, said, forget tradition, forget everything that, the University of Michigan stood for, and wanted to make his imprint on that university so hard, you screwed it up.
Because when you think of big programs like that, like me personally, when I think of big programs, the SCs, the Alabamas, the Texas, the Ohio States, the somewhat Penn States, and household names, they usually have the most success when they have a guy that bleeds their alma mater, that they had a guy that has some type of connection to that school. Right. If, like I said, if it's coached there, if there's went to school there, if it's a GA there, if it's played there, whatever it may be, they usually have the best success with those type of guys because it means a little bit more to them. Look at Fitzpatrick, what he's been doing. Fitzgerald, right? Northwestern.
Yeah.
What he's been doing to that university, to that program.
Right.
I mean, that guy.
He's never going anywhere. They'll never fire.
Yeah, exactly. He have a statue built there.
Right.
So Rich Rod didn't understand that it wasn't just another game for Ohio State versus Michigan, or when they was playing Notre Dame or they playing Michigan State. He wanted to make his own name outside of bigger than Michigan, and that's what, like you said, it set him back. That's where he went wrong.
No, it was terrible watching Michigan be in that format. The first year we played them, Rich Rod's first year, I think we beat him like 59-17 or something like that, and it was like, bro, last year, Lloyd Carr's last year. I thought Lloyd Carr was a phenomenal coach too. Getting off topic a little bit, not even off topic, but I thought Lloyd Carr. People talk about Bo Schembechler. I personally think Lloyd Carr is the best coach the University of Michigan's ever had.
Wow.
You can talk about Bo and all this. All respect due to Bo, 1,000%. But Lloyd Carr, you go back and you look at his track record versus Ohio State. You look at his track record in big games.
Yeah.
I don't think the success compares. But nonetheless, I was recruited by Lloyd Carr there. And his last year, we beat him 14-3. And I remember just the look on his face, and he knew it was the end. And, I'm thinking that they're going to get Les Miles was the talk at that time.
Yeah.
He was at LSU. I'm thinking, because he's a Michigan guy, I'm thinking he's going to go there. And I'm thinking the next year we're going to still have our work cut out for us because they got a quality coach that understands the rivalry, that's been there, been in those shoes, and they get Rich Rod. And the first thing I remember about Rich Rodriguez is him coming in and like 7, 8 guys immediately transfer.
Yeah.
And my ears perking up like, what? What's going on? One of those guys happened to be born.
Yeah.
Born.
Came home.
Yep, Big Justin came, transferred, was at Ohio State. He couldn't play that year, but I would sit and talk to Justin that year, man, what was going on in Michigan? And Justin's a guy I always wanted to come to Ohio State. We played in the high school All-American game. But I would always talk to him in practice like, man, what was going on there? He said, Rich Rod, man, he didn't care about anything that Lloyd Carr or anybody before him had there at that university. He wiped away everything, talking about their record books, their history on the walls, ripped it all down, and all made it all about him, man. And at that point, I knew, like, bro, there's no way.
About to be pretty.
No way you're gonna be able to do anything moving forward. Yeah. We'll take a quick break. Take a quick break to go get some canes. Go to Raising Canes, order some Raising Canes to your house on this break, and stay tuned. We'll be right back.
If Raising Cane's secret cane sauce was the end zone, no one would ever lose a game. Crispy crinkle-cut fries, touchdown. Buttery Texas toast, touchdown. Hand-battered cooked-to-order chicken fingers, touchdown. Freshly made tea and lemonade, well, you get the point. Go for the win this game day with Cane's. Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers, proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics. One love.
All right, welcome back, people. We just came back from our quick Canes break. I got my belly full. I love the bread, BBS. Always. Anytime I get to that window.
Always. Emphasize that.
BBS, butter both sides of the bread, please.
Please and thank you.
We got some questions from Twitter.
Yeah. Shouts out to D Ransom 002, and his question to us was, what advice would you give a first-year player / starter about the game?
Ooh,
and these questions were asked before everyone got the alert, the ESPN ticker, that the game is canceled. So, I mean, it can be a first-year player next year. So I give him advice, and, hopefully he holds on to advice for next year.
Oh, man, what advice would I give a first-year player? Yeah, don't fumble the ball. I mean, if you're a running back, don't fumble the ball. That's one of them. But, understand the importance of it. Understand the importance of the rivalry. Buy into it. Go back and look at the history. When I was playing my sophomore year, we took a bus trip up to the University of Michigan, and obviously the year before, Bo Schembechler had passed away. But this time they had just created this documentary that documented the 60, 70 years prior to rivalry games, and just what it meant to certain people, what it meant to certain players. Buy in and really, really take heed to this rivalry because it's like no other. I know that a lot of times, especially if you're one of those new guys, you come to your first game, you're going to be looking at, Ohio State just wiped the floor with these dudes consistently. But that game still means so much to both schools. And the reason being why Ohio State tries to wipe the floor with them consistently is because of all the long-standing history and the players that come before you. So buy into it.
For sure. Definitely buy in and understand that it's not just another game. It is the game because of all the records go out the window. Everything, your yards, your stats, how many starts you had, what type of recruit you were, all that go out the window when you play in this team And that's not just an individual player, but the team records. I mean, if you look at the history of the game and see how many times Michigan stopped Ohio State from playing in a national title game or a big time bowl game, when Ohio State was a 10-11-0 and Michigan was 5-5 or something like that. So records go out there when you just understand it's not another game, and at this point, especially if you're a young player, it is the biggest game in your career.
Man, I can't stress that enough. The biggest game in your career. My question comes from Andrew Craig, @Craig_13. Is it more satisfying to win the game at the shoe or in the big house?
Me personally, I would love to say the shoe, even though I didn't have that experience to spend my last college regular season game in the shoe. We ended up, crushing them up at the big house because it's senior night. It's your last regular season college football game that you guaranteed to have. And it feels good to, after that win, celebrate in the locker room and go right there with your family and have everybody in town, because everybody going to come to town for that game, trust and believe. So to celebrate right then and there. But, I mean, even when, times when we play up there and crush them and come back, the parking lot is full with your family and friends anyway, no matter what time you get back. But I think it's a little more special ending senior night and not just against that team, but in the shoe.
Yeah. I think I got to go with you, man. I played in the 2006 game, the game. And
the game of the game.
Yeah, I mean.
The game of the game.
That was crazy. Just the atmosphere of that game and the environment. I'm talking, you got Derek Jeter on the sideline. You got, Braylon Edwards, Charles Woodson, those guys. I remember Braylon Edwards got in trouble because he took a helicopter down he was playing with the Browns, and he missed their meetings just to come to this game. Yeah. You got Mo Vaughn on the sideline. So many, it's like a who's who. Madonna, I believe, was on the sideline of that game. And, understanding obviously how big the game is, but going out and beating them in the matchup. Will, you was a part of this game. Going out and beating them, and then after the game, like you said, getting a chance to celebrate with your fans and family. But and this game was a little bit unique, man. This is my first time experiencing, obviously, the game, but two, experiencing people rushing the stands, jumping out of stands, rushing the field, and people literally ripping huge pieces of the grass that we had in Ohio Stadium up and taking it home. The craziest thing in the world, man.
Yeah, for sure. I remember, man, golly, my first year, 2012, when we beat them and we couldn't go on to play in a bowl season or postseason. And it was a good game. I think we won 26-21. And we played a really good Michigan team who went on to, I think, win the Sugar Bowl. Brady Holcomb's first year maybe or something like that. But anyway, what was his name? Brady Holcomb?
Yeah, it was Brady Holcomb.
Oh, okay, I was just like, wait. So, and the fans rushed the field, and I actually missed the our in the game speech in the locker room because the fans rushed the field and everybody was getting pictures with me. They just didn't care. They just wanted a piece of Ohio State and in that game. And I'm like, what? I'm taking every picture I can with people, trying to get to the locker room. And by the time I got to the locker room, guys was leaving like, where you been? I was like, I couldn't get off the field.
Right.
So that was crazy. So yeah, it's definitely special ending the regular season at home versus Michigan.
And I played there, and I beat Michigan at Michigan. And although we beat them there and you're still pumped up, you're excited, just the atmosphere going into the game, it's the game without question. But it just isn't the same because I feel like they got a real big stadium, but it just wasn't as rowdy.
No, it's
and not as nasty as you anticipate. I know here, when we're playing home, our fans are nasty to them because I didn't seen it and witnessed it. Yeah, and I love that part of it, man.
Yeah. It's so weird that their stadium, man, it seats the most on paper, but it's so spread out. It's not loud to me. It's not that loud to me. It's like a good, loud stadium, but it's not loud for 113, whatever they hold.
Right.
You want to say it's loud, freaking. No. The shoe is loud. 80,000 in Blacksburg and Virginia Tech, that's loud. Penn State, whiteout. That's your loud. Ears are popping. Yeah, your ears are popping.
Right.
So stuff like that, but but I definitely want to end a season on our field though.
yeah, man. Diving back into this game, man, or to the game that was to be, or to the game that we were supposed to have and we're not going to have, or whatever you want to call it, and whatever you want to say. Just the season. If you got a crystal ball, right, and you can look into the future, what do you think transpires with this week? And what do you think transpires with Ohio State and their chances of getting in the Big Ten championship? because of the lack of the game.
I think the Big Ten come out and find a way to make sure Ohio State can play not this week, if not this week, but for sure for the Big Ten championship game, so they can be represented in the Final Four. And I think they get so much backlash from all the Ohio State hater media people who can't stand Ohio State to say like, oh my God, they go back and change the rules just to accommodate these guys. Well, no, what's fair is fair, and what's wrong is wrong, what's right is right.
Right.
So I think they find a way to. I mean, the Big Ten been getting so much heat about their lack thereof when it comes to this protocol, when it came to handling a lot of situations. I think they finally have a chance to make things right.
Yeah.
And it kind of sucks to say they're going to make it right, and Ohio State benefits clearly we being alumni, but we're pretty much the only team in the Big Ten that's pretty much been getting screwed all season.
Yeah. I mean,
so make it right, Big Ten. Make it right.
I think you got to. I think you certainly have to, and you wouldn't be wrong if you went ahead and decided to change the rules, because you understand, what's at stake, not just for you, but for the entire conference. So yeah. I think you got to make this situation. But get back to this week. I think they got to make it to where they play this week.
Yeah.
I don't feel comfortable. I really don't. Just with the committee looking at Ohio State and saying, you guys play in the Big Ten championship. Let's say you guys play 6 games. You guys play 6 games, and we're going to put you in a college football playoff.
Yeah.
I don't feel comfortable. I think you got to give yourself a shot at playing 7 games, no matter who it's against, because you got anytime you got a larger sample size to evaluate from, I don't think that hurts you. And it certainly can hurt you by not playing another game and having another chance to be evaluated versus, I don't know whether you say a quality opponent, because I think Indiana would be a quality opponent, or someone else outside of the conference. I would not be opposed to that.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, though, about the sample size, because if you have a small sample size in the Big Ten, and the committee puts you in the Final Four, then guess what? That small sample size is going to play in your favor when teams are trying to prepare for you.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to have so many answers and would-up situations by the quality opponents we play, because, Indiana was the only good team that we played this year, and they're going to go back over that, and everything else was pretty much beating guys off pure talent.
Yeah, man. Wow, man. Wild times that we are in right now, experiencing and finding out that the house. We literally found this out 10 minutes or 5-10 minutes before we did the show, which is wild.
It's tough.
So, the questions are popping up in our mind as we're doing the show that we have for the committee and everybody else out there that can give us some type of answers. But I want to get to, what's your favorite tradition from this rivalry week? I know we don't have the game, so we got to reminisce a little bit and give you guys some of our favorite key points or moments from this rivalry. But favorite tradition that you do leading up to this week?
I'm going to give you 2. My favorite tradition when it came to football traditions when it came to the rivalry was the day after the game before, so that following Sunday when the band comes in and plays. And they do script Ohio, and you grabbing all the instruments and you playing and you scripting with them and stuff like that. And so that was my favorite when it comes to football. But my favorite all-time tradition just leading up to the game is, oh my God, hopefully none of my coaches are watching this, because we were banned from this. The Mirror Lake jump.
Oh, that was banned?
We were banned.
Y'all couldn't go to Mirror. Oh my God! We couldn't go. Every year we went to Mirror Lake. I remember seeing Will jump on Mirror Lake half naked. I'm joking. I'm joking.
and it sucks. It sucks. And I know we had a tragedy during that jump. I think it was my last year where they tried to officially close it down and kind of cancel that tradition. But the only reason why it was my favorite, because you have an opportunity to interact with the whole student body.
Yes.
About a common goal, a common hate, and a common tradition. Everything else is so much football related. I mean, the student body can't come do Michigan workouts with us, or, doing in the workouts, we're doing the push-up, sit-ups, and things like that to the days that we count towards Michigan and things like that. So it was my favorite because it included the whole student body and everybody who wanted to get crazy. I mean, I never jumped in the lake, but to see that and everybody going crazy and yelling and singing and saying a lot of mean things about that school, it was pretty cool.
Craziest thing you've seen at the lake? I know it's some wild stuff that you see at Mirror Lake.
I just seen we had 2 walk-on players. I'm gonna leave their names out of it, but they also were in the midst of pledging.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess one of their things were to do the Mirror Lake jump.
Right.
And we had Joe Berger. I think he was a walk-on as well. And he was really good friends with these 2 other guys. So we there, everybody snuck out, and it's like COVID times because everybody got masks on and all type of stuff, right? So this is my first year. Yeah, this is in 2012, and it's funny. I'll tell you another thing too about that. But they love each other. They're all great friends. But they grabbed Joe Berger and they jumped in the lake with him, and Joe was completely in clothes and stuff like that. He was pissed. And it's not like he can tell or anything like that because we weren't supposed to be there.
Right.
We wasn't supposed to be there, but I saw one of our coaches, and he brought his kids there, and they jumped in.
No, excuse me, Raising Cane's. I'm so sorry. But, I mean, seriously.
Saw one of our coaches there. I feel like that coach was fresh out the NFL.
Fresh out the NFL.
2012. And he coached the defensive line.
Oh.
But anyway, and he coaching in Tennessee right now. I'm not going to say any names, but he's the head coach of Tennessee right now.
Oh, because he understood because he was here. He understood that.
Brought his kids.
Yeah, but I'm saying, but he understood the tradition, and he said, you know what? I'm going to bring my kids and make them part. Oh, my gosh. That's crazy as heck right there.
Yeah.
The fact that y'all not supposed to be there as players,
but
the coach is going to bring his kids there.
Bet not see y'all there. See y'all there at 10. I bet not see y'all there at 10 o'clock when I get there with my kids and jump in the lake.
That's crazy as hell right there, man. But the two things that you just named are my absolute favorite traditions about that week. Playing with the band, getting a chance to, our band is legendary.
Legendary.
Getting a chance to do some of their steps, their moves, take some of their instruments, go out there and play and have a good time. I remember I got up on a ladder and I was kind of,
man, I was so
kind of
jealous.
coordinating all that.
Man.
So it was super fun, man, to be a part of that and to get a chance to do that. But like you said, Mirror Lake, getting a chance, I think it was Thursday night, Wednesday or Thursday night.
Wednesday or Thursday. Yeah, I can't remember.
You go out there and it's start probably about 9:30, 10 o'clock. Cold as heck.
That's why
You going out there, and I'm talking about some people like they lathered up, and when I mean lathered up, I don't mean lathered with Raising Cane's lemonade or sweet tea. Maybe they had Raising Cane's lemonade or sweet tea. They just add a little bit of mixture into it. But they were lathered and having a ball jumping in. There were several players on our team who jumped in, but then there were several like athletic staff, our training staff, and I remember seeing people jump in that thing butt booty hole.
Yes.
Seriously, naked.
For sure.
Jumping all the way in that thing naked. It was the craziest thing in the world.
That's that.
But getting a chance to see that year after year, dude, that was like incredible. Obviously, we had the tragedy there. Thoughts and prayers are always going to go towards that specific situation and instance. But the memories that came along with that Mirror Lake jump, man, are lifelong for sure.
For sure, man. And that's why, I would have to do a research study of people who have done the Mirror Lake jump versus then and now, and to see if they had got COVID, because it was shit in the Mirror Lake that was worse than COVID and prepared you
100%.
for this pandemic. If you jump in the Mirror Lake,
you're immune.
You're immune to COVID. I know where the vaccine is. Jump in Mirror Lake.
At the bottom of Mirror Lake. They prepare you.
Exactly. I got to know if you jump in there with an open wound or you know how you jump in, you go down and you might swallow a little water or get on your mouth, something like that. You have been immune to COVID before COVID even came about.
Right.
For sure.
That's one of the things I can get with. I can believe that certainly. But man, those times were like amazing, and it's kind of hard to tell people, what that experience was like because they necessarily wouldn't get it unless you were there. But, you probably think, what's a lake? People just jumping up. But you got thousands of college kids, wild as can be, taking a dive.
And it's the funniest part, though. We keep calling it a lake. It's just a pond.
Right.
so when we first went, and I'm thinking guys are about to get in, pile into cars because we all meet at the Neil dorm. Right. And I'm thinking to myself, who got a car? Yeah, who got a car? and I'm thinking like, okay, Mirror Lake jump. I'm thinking we about to jump off the bridge into the Owen Tangent. That's what I was thinking the whole time. And everybody walking, and you see people running back from it all through campus.
Right.
And I'm like, where is it? I'm like, oh, it's a pond.
10 steps from your dorm. Right?
That's the best part about it. But speaking about some of the traditions of how say not just leading up to the game and everything we do to really install that history leading up to it. It's all year round for us. Mm-hmm. But leading up to that week, I remember I don't know how it was when you was in school, but we have a player every day from the game speak about the game. So guys who formerly played it might have made one or two key plays, and we would never have like big name guys intentionally because of that point. When we go back to our question of what would you tell a first year player or starter or somebody just getting one play,
right?
It can make or break your career. You know, I remember seeing videos of guys running down on kickoff, smashing a guy, or and all type of stuff like that. And I had no clue who these guys are until they come back and speak and talk about the gold pants or what it meant to them or that one or two plays or something like that. So, but our traditions are none other, man. And I kind of and you sit around and you reminisce with a lot of buddies and friends that you kind of get outside of college and is playing in the pros, and they went to tradition-rich schools as well. And you guys compare, and in the back of your head, you out of respect, oh, that sounds cool, but in the back of your head, like, I ain't got nothing on Mirror Lake, or they ain't got nothing on, some of the traditions that we have.
Right.
But it's pretty cool though. It's definitely no place like it.
So every year we had Jack Tatum come back. We had the seniors obviously go through their last week of practice at the senior tackle. Jack Tatum will come back and speak to us. And then we had my boy. I love this guy to death. God rest his soul. I did a show with him for, I don't know, 3-4 years. Me, him, and Coach Coop. Earl Bruce was my dog.
Yeah.
My kids, to this day, I show them the picture of them and Earl Bruce, and they love Earl Bruce because they remember how funny he was.
Yeah.
But you talk about a guy that is an older individual but will come into a room, and Will, you can attest to this, and come and speak and give so much energy. We're going to give him a whammy. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. Earl Bruce was incredible, incredible motivator, and he was just a fun guy to listen to his stories about, what he had went through with the rivalry. And I don't know if you know Earl Bruce. He was on staff with Woody. Yeah. So, I mean, so you talk about a guy who really was enriched in a tradition. He's been through the glory years and created some glory years for himself. So having him come back and give his testimony about what the rivalry meant to him and what he went through and what he wanted to do. I want to give it this, and he gives you that old school coach feel, bro. That was just incredible getting a chance to listen to him, man. So that's certainly one of mine is the ability to hear a guy like that speak, for sure. But yeah, moving along a little bit. I know it's kind of once we get to talk about stuff like that, my mind just get to going
all over the place,
and I get all over the place, man. So I kind of lose track. We talked about the crystal ball and what we saw. I want to play a little scenario right now. A little scenario. I don't know if you're up for it. I want to have you be the Big Ten Commissioner, Kevin Warren. And I want to ask you a couple questions. Will, are you down to throw in a couple of questions to Kevin Warren? Give me 2 questions that you would love to ask Kevin Warren.
Golly, this is getting hot in here. It's my turn to heat up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the biggest question. Some buffers. I mean, all right, Mr. Warren. First question comes from Mr. Will over here.
Thank you, Will.
So we understand that you got a lot of stuff wrong all year long with the start of the season and all that. Why did you wait so long to start the season and not build in any buffers for this season, considering we are in the midst of COVID, a global pandemic?
Well, hey, that's a great question there you guys have there. Wow, it's hot in here. I wanted to say we waited to start the season because we wanted to see the trial and error that a lot of the other conferences was going through in the beginning. We thought the 25th was a great point to give everyone else 4 or 5 games to get their feet wet and understand and try to piggyback some of their COVID protocols to develop a foolproof COVID protocol of our own, and clearly we dropped the ball on that.
Well, Mr. Warren, did you not know that COVID came about and, we all went on lockdown in March of 2020? So you had a lot of time to prepare, right?
Yeah, but we also had to think about trying to get our other fall sports into play at a timely manner, having to cancel March Madness, baseball at the time, and some more spring sports. Our main focus wasn't just on football, even though that's what the Big Ten is about. We had to try to find a way to really get all our sports and our students around campus safely.
All right, I respect that. I'll take that. But you got to answer this question truthfully for me.
Oh.
Mr. Warren, are you indeed a control freak and wanted everybody to know your name. And that's why you decided to push the season back. And that's why you decided to implement this 6-game mandatory playing to be in the Big Ten championship. Are you a control freak? Do you like people to know that you have the final say-so and the end-all be-all?
Well, the commissioner is a appointed position, so people put me in this position. They thought I would have the best knowledge and say so. But yes, I'm a control freak. I love it. I didn't start off as a control freak. You guys did this to me. You put me in this position. And now I control all the marbles. You guys want Ohio State to play? I'll think about it. I'll get back to you Thursday.
That's hilarious, man. And all due respect to, Kevin Warren, it's a joke we had to go through, and obviously you're taking a bunch of slack. And, a lot of us probably just do, but we had to make a joke of it. So don't be a little too uptight if you do see this, man. But, yeah, man, that was good. That was real good right there. That was funny as heck. But, yeah, again, no disrespect.
That's a joke.
It's a joke. Take it. But, yeah, man, I enjoyed this, man. Yeah. It's still so crazy that we do not have an opportunity to play Michigan. First time in over 100 years. Wow, man. I'm looking forward to see what transpires in that meeting tomorrow with the Big Ten athletic directors, the commissioner, and also the presidents.
And guess what? That meeting, I'm showing up late because I control it. I get there when I get there.
No, man, that's a wrap on, Cardale and Beanie and Cardale, always brought to you by Cane's. It's the perfect tailgate food. And not even just for, just an Ohio State football tailgate. You got a basketball. You got a hockey. Just go to Cane's and get some chicken.
Get some food, man. It's lunchtime, so hey, guys, meet me at Cane's.
That's a wrap.